The other day, I was walking my dog around the surroundings of my apartment complex. Those gated towers we have all over Bogotá, where even the air seems fenced. I was just following our usual route so she could, handle her business. And suddenly, I realized how many birds there actually are around here. Some of them are quite unusual for Bogotá. Sometimes you only hear them, hidden between the towers. And if you're looking up, you might even spot a duck or two. That made me wonder, was this place a wetland before? Or a swamp? Or maybe just a filled-in patch of land pretending not to remember it once was water? Then another thought hit me. Am I part of the problem about this construction fever that Bogotá suffers from? Or were we just too naive to believe that this wasn't part of a wetland? Nevertheless, when my mom bought the apartment on paper, the salesman promised it had always been a landfill. I mean, what else could it be, right? Just some grass, a few puddles, and birds that apparently forgot to move out. But then I started researching on the internet, and I find out some interesting things. Turns out the Techó Wetland wasn't always this small. According to some photo files back in the 1950s, almost all of Castilla was swamp. Techó, La Vaca, El Burro, they were all connected into a huge breeding ecosystems, not decorative puddles trapped between highways and malls. And while I was learning about that, I came across a story that broke me. The story of the zambullidor, which looked a lot like the pipe-billed grape ones. It used to live here elegant, quiet, diving deep in the wetlands. Now it's extinct. Gone. Why? Because human ignorance always finds a way to win, especially when it is dressed as high society. The native people once hunted it to survive, part of nature's balance. But then came colonization, and what used to be survival became entertainment. Rich families began hunting zambullidors just because it looked fancy. These people believed that eating the bird was a backward and primitive practice. They just wanted to show they could kill something harmless. That's how a whole species vanished, because the power in the city has always been about dominating life. And somehow, it hasn't changed much. Today, our leaders, the mayors, the council, the so-called urban renovators, keep practicing the same arrogance, just wearing suits instead of rifles. They call it urban renewal, progress, housing opportunity, but it's all the same thing, erasing life. Every time they approve a new construction project, a POT, or whatever new shiny plant they invent, another piece of the city's natural soul disappears. And they dare to say we're building sustainable neighborhoods. Please, how do you replace a wetland with a concrete park and call that compensation? How do you kill the lungs of the city and say you're giving us fresh air? You're not building homes. You're staking tombstones for what once was alive. Bogotá used to have a soul made of brick and mud. It was warm, human, messy but alive. Now it's turning gray, silent and lifeless. Lagos de Castilla neighborhood is another factor that contributes to pollution. It is located right in the middle of what used to be a wetland. It was built during the 1990s by families displaced by violence in Colombia who needed a place to live. Today, the neighborhood is divided into three parts. The section closest to the wetland is illegal and currently involved in a relocation process to help preserve the ecosystem. The middle part is still in process of being legalized, and the last section has already been legalized. The situation reflects the tension between human need and environmental preservation in Bogotá's urban road. But something beautiful has grown there too. A community initiative that replaced the house numbers with plaques showing photos of local birds. Now, instead of Calle 11 or Carrera 80, there's Calle Turpial, Calle Clarinero, and Avenida Sirirí. So why are Techó, La Vaca, El Burro, and all the other wetlands so important? Because they're still breeding, against all odds, against bulldozers, politicians, and ignorance. They're home to hundreds of species, birds, savanna frogs, curries, even small snakes that people freak out about that actually help control pests and mosquitoes. They work in silence, filtering the city's water and air, asking nothing in return. Sometimes, when I walk by Techó Wetland at night, I can still hear the frogs and birds singing together. Their songs echo like a heartbeat, reminding us we're not alone. What worries me the most, though, is the ignorance of my own neighbors. They honestly think we're living in the north of Bogotá, where the rich people live, as if having an apartment here gave them more rights than anyone else in Kennedy. And every time I pass near one of the wetland sections, I hear it again. Ugh, it smells bad here. Why doesn't the aqueduct fix these dirty waters? And I just want to scream. Because this is the wetland, genius. It's not dirty, it's alive. The fact is, Techó Wetland was literally cut in half. Carrera 80 splits it between the north and south sectors, and right in the middle sits Lagos de Castilla neighborhood, like a scar. The real problem is that the water can't flow anymore. It gets trapped, stuck, because all the constructions. According to a watchman from the south sector, the Bogotá Water Company installed 2 drain pipes to prevent flooding when the wetland overflows. So, when people complain about the smell, they're really smelling a wetland trying to breathe to concrete. But hey, at least it doesn't smell as bad as Fucha River, right? So, yay for us? Still, I get why people don't care. They think they're living in a nice, pretty, safe neighborhood, the fancy side of Kennedy. So, why care about the muddy parts that make it possible? Now I wonder, what kind of air are we going to breathe in the future? Concrete? Pollution? The fumes from your car, your motorbike, or your own farts? But I know I'd rather breathe something alive. That's why I care about this wetland, because its species can come knocking at your door to ask for silence or respect. But imagine if they could, a giant bird tapping on your door saying,
"Hey, congrats on the party, it's awesome, but could you tone it down a bit? We've got chicks to feed tomorrow."
Ridiculous? Maybe. But that's exactly how ridiculous we look destroying the only places that still keep us alive. Since they can't speak our language, we have to raise our voices and stand up for them. The truth is, if the Muisca people could live in harmony with this wetland centuries ago, why can't we? With all our supposed intelligence? Why do we have to live surrounded by concrete all the damn time? What can we actually do? At first sight, nothing. Because construction machines are unstoppable, and most of the Council of Bogotá has already been bought by its own interest. But we still have a voice. We can stay alert, ask questions, annoy the powerful, make noise, the good kind. Join local groups that defend the wetlands. Volunteer. After all, recycling isn't just separating bottles and paper. And the only real good thing the Kennedy's mayor's office has done is to require permission to enter the wetland, and honestly, that's fine. Not everyone should be allowed in if they can behave like guests in someone else's home. So yay, stay tuned, stay involved, protect the few breathing spaces we have left. Because nature is the only thing that will remain after us. Humans? We're temporary. But maybe, if we do things right, something beautiful will survive after we're gone.